The short answer is yes. The longer answer is we have to mobilize the forces that make this possible. And it is possible. We are spending more than $2,000 billion in armament and in weapons. There should be the money to guarantee that our children and the children of our children can live a good life. Again, yes, I know the figures, and at the same time, the world population has been growing, and more people live in cities and eat differently than when they were living in the rural areas, so the demand of food has been rising. And there are vulnerable groups, absolute poverty, predominantly in the urban areas as well, where the food prices were rising permanently, where COVID was putting them out of a job, and putting the two things together, I expect that the number of the people having a lack of food security is rising, and hunger is rising as well. And my problem is that with the current war, and with the reaction of Western societies to put more money into weapons, to put more money into military affairs, we will lack the money that we would need to avoid that these figures of hunger and malnutrition are continuing to rise. Guns always kill more than actually where they are pulled. And the outfall, the externality of a war between Russia and Ukraine is going to hit sub-Saharan Africa, because a lot of the imported food, be it wheat, be it seed flours, be it others, come either from Ukraine or from Russia. So the prices will rise, and the absolute quantities going to a market will shrink, which means that we will have probably price increases that can trigger even social unrest. And if you have social unrest, you lose the momentum for positive solutions. So this would be the moment also for Europe, predominantly for Europe, to raise their assistance to Africa, because it's now that it's needed. It's now that we can prevent an even deeper crisis. And I'm afraid that everybody is now looking to the eastern of Europe instead of our neighbors in the south. And I am afraid that we will that the European countries will set priorities that are not exactly positive for sub-Saharan Africa. And the bigger humanitarian catastrophe is happening here in Africa. That catastrophe in Mariupol or in other cities in Ukraine, that is more visible. That comes to our home through television. People who die of hunger and of lack of food security in sub-Saharan African cities are invisible, and they are not seen. But the fact that we don't see them does not mean that they are not there. They are not only possible, they are absolutely necessary. You see, some of the subjects I am talking about permanently is good governance, transparency, inclusivity, no corruption, not spending the money where it is not needed on prestige issues, but spending it on where the problems are, for example, in the rural situation. And there are countries that have an excellent record with regard to good governance and therefore have less problems, and there are countries where we have corrupt despots who use the wealth of their country to fill their private pockets, and there you have all the problems you would want to avoid. So I am very positive that there is sufficient African leadership that has understood this and that is able to create that kind of constructive solidarity, that countries amongst themselves grow more together and share what they have. Africa has one of the youngest populations in the world. If I look here in Morocco, I see a lot of young men and women with an excellent education. That's the strongest foundation for a positive future. And there are a lot of European countries which are graying and getting older and lose kind of the contact to the rest of the world. This will be a strategic advantage of Africa as a whole and for Morocco particularly. Je suis surtout optimist. If I would not be an optimist, I could not do that kind of a work. But we have to spread the gospel, we have to repeat the gospel, we have to talk to students, to children, we have to kind of make known, we have to share knowledge in a language that is understood by young people. Merci beaucoup. C'est aussi important d'avoir un message positif. Parce qu'avec des messages négatifs, on ne crée pas la motivation et l'énergie.